Yeah? Okay. So the first thing is we have to define the brand, because brand means something different to everybody. And in some cases, it's about a specific product like VicFalls or Great Zimbabwe, which are iconic destinations in Zimbabwe that other regions or other countries in the region don't have, that need to be capitalized on. But what really has to happen is that Brand Zimbabwe has to be extended beyond VicFalls, which is obviously the iconic brand that has kept the tourism industry going for such a long time. So here, according to Rebecca Smith, I'm just going to read this to you quickly and then we'll move on. Everyone has a different perspective regarding what it means. Some see brand as advertising, some as identity, and only a few understand brand as a deeper values-based platform that sums up your intent and belief system and guides your decisions. Now, that is taking what the country has to offer across the country and not specific icons and then presenting it. The next level, and again this has been covered at North this morning and through the other workshops, one has to bring the local tourism into it, bring the communities into it, which create advocates for the brand. And without extending that, and I know there are problems with, it was mentioned this morning about people living below the poverty line, not being able to travel, the amount of people that haven't been to Zimbabweans that haven't been to VicFalls, etc. This is something that needs to be developed, and programs were discussed in Harare as to how this could be made possible. The next one are the champions, and these are the regional tourists that are coming in, extending the VFR and the transit visitors into actual tourists. I know that they do spend money, but you saw the spend per person is something like $375 of a transit visitor and up to, I think, $1,200 for a foreign visitor. And then the believers, which are the international travelers. So this has been happening very successfully in Victoria Falls, and this needs to be extended to the entire country. The important thing, and Dr. Kiseki mentioned this morning, and this is an example of that, there's a distinct difference between country branding and destination branding. And sadly, the country branding is affected by socio-economic factors that are often beyond the control of the tourism industry. And these are political, social, economic issues that affect the industry, often adversely, but the industry has no control over that. So in terms of establishing Brand Zimbabwe, the destination brand needs to be established, the vision, the strategy, etc. needs to be developed and move forward on that basis. And it's very important to differentiate between the two. In terms of what has come through with social media, etc., in the digital era, for Zimbabwe particularly, and again on one of the slides of Sophie this morning, three of the largest generators of interest in the country were online, reference to other travelers, and I forget the third one, but it was basically, it was all online. And this is the way that the market is moving forward. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a very expensive exercise going forward. One can take advantage of, obviously, the digital era, and then explore shared content and media placements. So, particularly in South Africa, and with particular iconic products. Foreign TV stations, radio stations are often happy to send journalists out, produce programs, put it on TV, and by establishing the bottom-up marketing approach, it's about creating the desire and the need in the consumer to actually go into the travel agent and the tour operator and request destinations specifically. As was said earlier today and in previous talks, Zimbabwe at the moment is almost an add-on, particularly to South Africa and Botswana, because it's the enclave of Victoria Falls. And what one has to do is, through various television channels, wildlife programs, etc., is generate that content that the consumer actually goes to the operator and specifically asks for a destination. Obviously, again, I'm talking to the tourism industry here, one must never forget the traditional marketing channels, the trade shows, ITBs, Indabas, etc., road shows, workshops, tour operator visits, educationals, and this is also very important when we go back to that public-private sector, where traditionally, and again, as Dr. Kaseki said, there wasn't the leadership from government that is required to assist in that. And it's all good and well that all tour operators and hotels, etc., do it themselves, but without the support of the government and the tourism, the public tourism sector, that becomes very difficult and secular, and then each product starts looking after their own interest as opposed to the greater interest of the destination brand. So going back to the digital era, again, as was said, this is a very cost-effective and broad way of reaching the international market, and a very varied market. And this also needs to be specifically targeted at segments in that market. Now, what I've got in here has been discussed today, and that's why I keep saying everything is there and done, and the industry has been doing it, but there's been a disconnect between the industry and the public sector, which now, with what is happening here, and certainly these workshops are showing that the government is taking tourism seriously, and that all the parties do need to work together. And part of that process is the quantitative collection of data, which is the click-throughs and the stats, how long people spend on the site, etc. But the most important thing, it's all good and well having that data, but if you don't have the internal data, which is the qualitative information, which is what the public sector has to collect, collate, and distribute to the public, to the private sector, and that's where the working together and the utilization of that information can then move the brand forward, because 90% of the work is there. The country, as was said, is one of the most beautiful, if not the beautiful, in Southern Africa, certainly, if not the most of Africa. And there are not many countries that have natural wonders in their country. And I think the only other one in Africa is Egypt. And those things need to be built on, need to be distributed, and need to be communicated. And these can be done through bloggers, through websites, through Facebook, etc. And everybody's been doing that on an individual basis for their specific products. And there hasn't been a pull together, largely as the industry. VicFalls did that very successfully many years ago when tourism broke down. The industry here came together as a collective, and that was how the area, besides the natural beauty and the falls itself, that was how the community pulled through the worst times of tourism, and you've seen a continual growth, particularly in VicFalls. That now has to be extended to the rest of the country and linking those key and iconic tourist destinations. So, as I say, in a nutshell, it's not rocket science. I don't want to stand up here, especially coming from South Africa, where everybody seems to think it's Big Brother, and you just have to see the mess on our television last night and how long it took us to get rid of our president. And even in that, he still took it right to the end before he could actually mumble the words, "I resign." So, what's on this slide here is exactly what has been discussed, what particularly you guys in VicFalls have been doing in terms of putting yourselves on the market. And the key for the success of re-establishing and taking Brand Zimbabwe forward is extending those principles out into other parts of the country, bringing in Great Zimbabwe, bringing in Mana Pools, etc., the Eastern Highlands. A lot of the obstacles that have stopped that, particularly the South Drive from South Africa, etc., those are being dealt with, the roadblocks, the fines, etc. Those have been changed, and the government and the new regime seem to have made that commitment to take those obstacles out of the way so that that can now be readdressed and these can be brought into the marketing strategy, into the the vision that Zimbabwe needs and has to collate, which hopefully will come out of these workshops to move the country forward. Thank you very much.
Mr. Placid, thank you very much for the presentation. And as you said, it's not rocket science, it's doable. And I think one important point which is being addressed is the disjointment between the public sector and the private sector, which is being addressed now. And I think we are moving in a very correct direction. And I would ask Mr. Chidzidzi to come forward and present on the status of the destination marketing and the competitiveness. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kasira. I'm not making a presentation this time around. We made the presentation, and I want to thank the presenter for taking us through. What I'm going to talk about is the status of destination marketing and competitiveness. We have heard from the branding experts. What we need to look at is where are we as Zimbabwe, and the destination marketing obviously is a different type of marketing, especially if one looks at the definitions as they come in the books. Now we have, according to some marketing gurus, that destination marketing is a type of marketing that promotes a destination or a town, which is the situation we are in. So when we look at it, we've got some steps that we're going to go through to market our destination successfully. And this is identifying the markets and then target the markets. I think Sophie did justice to that, to know where are our markets, who are our markets, and what we need to do there, and then identify the customer needs in terms of your product offering. Are we meeting the needs of the customer? And then we have to match the resources that we have with the products in selected target markets. And this is basically the process that we need to go through as a destination. I will not go into the details of that because the presentations themselves will be circulated to everyone. But suffice to say that as we are marketing our destination, obviously, we will not shy from going back to the basics. Like you said, we go to the basics. Marketing is, we're talking of 7 P's of marketing. We've heard Vashni talking about the HR and the product standards and so on. So we're starting with the product itself. We have to interrogate and look at the product. Where are we in terms of the product? And we all know the status of our product here in Zimbabwe. And by product, we are talking of everything, because there's always this danger of saying the Victoria Falls is the product. But I think when you start defining a tourism product, it's a component of the product. It can be a product to Parks and Wildlife Management Authority, but definitely to all of us, we will know that unless you put the other A's to it, it's an attraction. You don't have a product yet, you just have a component of the product. So your access comes into being, and your activities, your accommodation, and other amenities. So we then look at the place, where are we playing? That is the other P, because we approach using the 7 P's of marketing. They are applicable to service marketing, by the way, the 7 P's, and I'm talking to the converted here and just preaching to the choir. So I will not take you through all the 7 P's of marketing, but just to say that this is the approach that we take. And then the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority has over the years led the development of marketing strategies, and we have always done this in a consultative process. And we came up with our National Tourism Marketing and National Tourism Development and Marketing Strategy, the first one in 2006, after a consultative process that was spanning to 2010, which was reviewed and succeeded by the National Tourism Marketing and Growth Strategy. And this is soon to be replaced by Vision 2025. You heard Dr. Kaseke saying earlier on that we were at the verge of concluding the Vision 2025, and then November happened, and we also have to now rethink and take a real look at that document before it's finalized. But now to go into the queue, because first things first, National Tourism Sector Strategy, completion, and then we can tweak the marketing and growth strategy. We have also almost been finalized. We had a digital marketing strategy. I think those, some of you will know, we did some training, especially for Harare-based operators, and this was all done also sometime towards the end of last year, before Operation Restore Legacy took place. And then we had also to put a little bit of a pause on there, but we are very serious about digital marketing, as we have been advised that in this world we need now to do the right things and be online. I will not go into the vision mission because that was talked about in our strategic intent, but to say that our digital marketing strategy, that is what we didn't talk about. The goal for our digital marketing strategy is to increase traffic to all destination Zimbabwe platforms. And this doesn't preclude the industry. We have to be present. Content is generated by none other than ourselves here. And we can be online as a destination. I think you've seen all the hashtags, the Twitters and Instagrams and so on. We are doing all that, but it's not a one-man's job. The objective will be to transform the authority. Charity begins at home. The authority itself into a digital capable organization by December 2019. I think the likes of me and one or two others would stretch that target to December 2019, but December 2018, 90% of our people will be very much digital compliant, save for maybe the likes of me who are